Okay, everybody, this is the toothbrush holder that we're making. You guys can see it up there. We have 4 pieces. The top piece has 5 holes in it. The bottom piece has 5 holes in it. Actually has 10 holes in it. In the center of each of the holes at the bottom, we're going to drill all the way through with an 1/8 inch drill bit. And we're going to use that to let water drain out so it doesn't puddle up in there. And potentially we might even be able to put it in the CNC machine and engrave something in on the toothbrush holder. I think we'll be able to have time for that, potentially. You guys all have the 2D print of it. Here's the 2D print. And what we need to do today is lay out on the top of the toothbrush holder where the center of those holes go. We're going to lay out the mortise, which is this hole right here in the side that the tenons from the sides will lock into. And then we're also going to draw the holes, or find the center of the holes and the mortise on each side of the bottom as well. Alright? So, you can keep that 2D print handy for reference if you need it. Alright, so here's my finished, this is my finished one that I cut out yesterday. I drilled my holes and I cut out one tenon, but I left one in so you guys can see what that looks like. And then this is one step backwards. So this is the same piece just with the holes laid out, and then this is one step backwards from that. It doesn't have the holes laid out, it just has the mortises drawn in. And that's one step back from that. It's just the blank piece of wood that you guys have right now. So we're going to go over here and we're going to end up here today on the third one. Cool? Cool. So to get started, you're going to need a pencil, and you're going to need your small 3-inch piece, and you're going to need your small 6-inch piece, your 1.5 by 6 and your 1.5 by 3. And a pencil, and hopefully it's a sharp pencil. If it's not a sharp pencil, you can go run out into the wood lab and sharpen it real quick and come back in.
Please excuse the interruption. With the following students, please report to the cafeteria. Joey Brenner, Jack Carpenter, Alexis Cook, Chloe Cook, the junior, Darius Daniels, Cross Draga, Adrian Hall, Logan Hepp, Jack Kessler, Jacob Cook, Blaze Kodak, Haley Merez, Titan Rumble, Kendall Rusikovich, Brad Rich, Stone Scott, Alex Sutter, and Cadence Wander. Please report to the cafeteria.
Okay, and what we're going to do to trace the mortises on here is we're actually just going to trace our 3-inch pieces on here, and it gets a little bit tricky. I'm going to do it in a couple different ways to try to show you guys different ways to do it. Well, I want everybody to do it the same way, but I'm not quite sure how visually it'll work on the camera. Alright, so essentially what we want to do is we want to stand up this piece like that, and we want to take our 3-inch piece and lay it flat down on the table and put them up against each other like that. Okay? So essentially that's the first thing we want to do. But I'll turn it sideways so you can kind of see also what we're going to do. But you want it standing up like I had it the first time. Okay, so we're going to have it down the bottom of the board like that. Alright? And then what you're going to do is you are going to make sure that you hold the boards flush together. And you're going to take your pencil and you're just going to trace a line from one end to another, and you want your lines to be very light, thin, and crisp. I'm going to draw mine dark though so you can see them better. Okay, there's my line. Okay, now then the opposite end will do the same thing. Same face of the board, just the opposite end of the board will do the same thing. And again, light, crisp, thin lines. Mine are dark because you got to be able to see them. Okay. And then we'll turn our board on its side like this. Okay, we'll just turn it on its side like that. And then we're going to hold up the 3.5-inch board on its side again. But this time we're not going to trace the line all the way across the bottom of the board. We're just going to trace the line so it looks like that. Okay. Don't trace it like this because it's hard to keep the boards in the right spot, but I'm just going to show you this so you get the visual. Okay, so that's where I got that line from. You should have it set up like that though. It'll be easier to trace the line. Okay, and then slide your 3-inch board to the other end. Make the same line. And now we have 3 lines on our board. And then you can rotate your top piece 180 degrees so that you can do the same thing on the opposite edge. So all 4 corners will have a box. Okay, and then once you have your board like this, you're done laying out the mortises, but we want to put an X here, and you can make this a dark X. Okay, it doesn't need to be light, crisp, and clean. It can be a nice, fat, dark, bold X. And just so that we don't accidentally cut these lines here, you can gently erase the lines that are going all the way from edge to edge. You don't have to completely erase them, but just erase them a little bit so that you know that you don't want to cut those lines. Okay, and now this is my first board that I showed you earlier, and there's my second board. Okay. Alright, so we're going to cut mortises out of there. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to draw a line down the center of this board, like so, and then we're going to lay out a crosshair, a center mark every inch. So this board is 1.5 inches wide. What's half of that? What's half 1.5 inches? What's half of $1.50? 75 cents, right? 3/4. Okay. So what we're going to do is measure from the edge in 3/4, and then you're going to do that once on the left and then once on the right. Sorry, I'm struggling to find a regular ruler here. There we go. A regular scale. Okay, so how I'm going to do this, if you haven't figured it out already, is I'm just going to line up the edge with my scale. I'm going to put a mark at 3/4 of an inch. I'm going to slide down to the left side, put my 1 on the edge, and put a mark at 3/4 of an inch. Now those 2 marks, those 2 points, that's what we're going to create our center line based off of. So you're going to need a straight edge. Hopefully your ruler has a straight edge. It's not all chipped up and bumped up and bruised like this one here. But if it is, it'll probably be alright. If it's not straight enough to draw a straight line, you guys can grab a triangle from the blue push card up here. But what we're going to do is we are going to connect those 2 marks all the way across the board. You guys, everybody doing good so far? Alright, yeah, you all seem like you're doing pretty good. Pretty simple, straightforward. You remind anybody about laying out the lines for the birdhouse? Sort of similar. Doing all our measuring and marking today. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to lay out crosshairs or center marks every inch. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to put 0 or 1 at the edge of the board, and it's every inch from the edge of the board, not from the edge of the mortise, but from the edge of the board. And go ahead and make a crosshair like this. Nice, crisp, clean, thin crosshair. Just like that. Okay, so the one at the top is the one that I had done already. The one on the bottom is the one I just completed. So our next step that we're going to do is we're going to be doing the bottom one. Matthew, are you on your top one right now, or are you doing the bottom one?
No, on top.
You're still on the top one? Okay, Aaron, are you on the top one or the bottom one? Aaron, Lynn, you on the top one? Okay. All right. So you guys are still working on the top one. Okay. Take another minute to work on laying out this top one, and then we'll move on to the bottom one. Anybody have any questions so far? every inch. And in case anybody's curious, actually, you know what? I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to ask you guys. Let's do a little. Race here. Who can tell me how big, what diameter hole we're going to drill through the tops here, besides Gage? Yeah, which is 3/4 of an inch. Very good. All right, nice. I'll give you something for that. Big bag of. Oh, that was actually pretty good. All right. Somebody besides Aiden, can you tell me what the width of this mortise is approximately without measuring it, but looking at your plans, looking at the 2D print? David? Yeah, another 3/4 of an inch. Good. Whoa! Sorry. Nice catch, Caitlin. All right, cool. So, is everybody done measuring and marking for the top? Okay. All right, sweet. So now we're going to move to the bottom. Now here's what the bottom looks like on our 2D print. Okay, it's 3/8 of an inch by 2.5 by 6, and it's exactly the same as it was up here. Okay, it's exactly the same as it was up here. The only difference that we're going to have is that we're not going to be able to trace out the mortise as easily. We'll be able to get two sides, one side in the top of the mortise, but since the width is different, we're not going to be able to get that part of the mortise, right? So what we'll do is we'll just lay our top on top of our bottom and transfer the marks over. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so here's where we're going. Okay, this one's all drilled out and measured, marked. You can see it has 1/8 inch holes in there too, letting the water drain out. We're also going to use those holes to secure it to the CNC machine when we do a little bit of a carving in there. I'm debating maybe even just cutting out the entire curve on the CNC machine, which would probably be a good idea because it would be perfect then. So maybe we'll just do that. And then everybody get to use the CNC machine, and that'd be pretty sweet. And this is what we got right now. So let's go from here to here. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to take our 3-inch board again, lay it down, and we're going to stand up our 2.5 inch wide board. And you don't need to trace a line all the way across, just maybe an inch from the back. So again, you're just going to stand up the board on its end, put the 3-inch long board up against it, flush them up, draw a line across about an inch in, and then we're going to do that same thing to the opposite end. Same thing to the opposite end. But when you do it, make sure that both lines that you drew are on the back end, or the back edge of that face. Aiden, you got a question? I'm sorry, could you say that again? Yeah, absolutely. Do you need it now, or do you need it now? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Just make sure you use a push stick if you need it. Okay, so you should have a board that looks like that. Okay, we good? All right. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to turn this board on the edge. And we are just going to draw the edge of that mortise. And that is the only edge that we can draw. We can't draw this other one just yet. We'll transfer that from our top piece. Okay. And again, the top and the bottom are exactly the same. The only difference is that the top is 2.5 inches wide and the top is 1.5 inches wide and the bottom is 2.5. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we will take our top piece and we will lay it on top of our bottom piece like so. And if you have the edges flushed up against each other perfectly, you know, you could probably even take one of your 3-inch pieces and put it up against the edge to make sure that they stay perfectly in line. And what you can do is transfer your mark over like so. Boy, that wood grain looks pretty cool when you get pretty close up like that, huh? Okay, and then you can go ahead and you can draw in these lines. You can make it as nice and as straight as you can, and then put an X there so we know that that's the waist. Okay, and then go ahead and erase the extra lines. And then we're going to flip it around. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Just to transfer our marks over. How you doing, Aiden? You alright? See a mouse running across the floor? See a mouse running across the floor? Oh. Okay, so I'm going to transfer these marks over. Okay, I'm going to draw that line the best I can. There's certainly a more accurate way to do this, but it's okay. With mortise and tenon like this, when you joint wood together, you don't always need to make it perfect. You just need to make the two pieces of wood fit together. It doesn't actually really matter if this is exactly, you know, 3/4 of an inch or a 1/2 inch, or if it, you know, if this is exactly 3/8, because what we're going to end up doing is cutting this out. And then once we cut this out, then we're going to trace this onto our 3-inch piece, and then we'll cut what we traced out. So if your measurements are off on your mortise and tenon, guys, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Then the next thing we're going to need to do is we are going to need to draw that center line again. So we can take our ruler and we can measure in from the edge 3/4 of an inch. So that was my engineer's scale that I had up there. I don't know if anybody was watching. I had my engineer's scale up there. Awesome thing about engineer's scales is that it's the US customary, so it's inches, but it's like the metric system. The inch is divided up into tenths. So it's 1/10 of an inch, a 1/2 of an inch, 1/3 of an inch. It's not fractional. It makes so much sense. You guys can see the difference if you want. I'll line up the 1 inches. Take a look up here real quick, guys. Neat little fun factoid. This one here on the bottom, this is the regular US customary 1 inch, and then on the top, that is the decimals. So it's divided into tenths. So it's still an inch. From 0 to 1, it's still an inch, but you'll notice there's no 1/4 inch up here. There's no 3/8 of an inch. There's no 3/4 of an inch. There's no 1/8. There's no 1/16. It's 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, which is a 1/2 inch, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, 1 inch. How many of you guys like that better? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, so go ahead and finish drawing out that line.
Wait, how far is this one gonna be off? Same thing?
3/4 of an inch. And then the holes are 1 inch apart. I'm just cleaning up my lines here. If you haven't erased the excess lines from drawing your mortises, go ahead and do that. Like I said, they don't have to be erased completely, but you just don't want to make any mistakes and cut the wrong line. So when you line up your boards edge to edge, not quite sure what happened right here. I think maybe that's probably the board I did the other day. There we go. They should all line up perfect. Okay, cool. So they're exactly the same. Okay, now for our 3-inch pieces, what we're going to do for our 3-inch pieces is we're going to do the same thing. So I have At my 3-inch piece, I'm going to stand it up on its end. And I'm going to trace a line all the way across. I'm going to leave a gap in the middle like that though, because we're not going to cut all the way across on these, so I'll just leave a little gap there. And make sure you draw these lines very light, because we're going to want to take them off later. We're just doing this for a visual so you guys know where we're going. We're not actually going to cut on these lines we're drawing right now, most likely. Okay, and then turn your 3-inch piece on its edge. Trace the line across. And turn that 3-inch piece on its edge. Again, draw a line across. And you'll get something like that.
What, is this on the little pieces?
Yep, this is on the little pieces, on the 3-inch, 1.5 by 3. So, on this little 3-inch piece, where does the X's go?
Corners.
Bobby? In the 4 corners. Good. Oh, almost. Sorry. Got to work on my pitching arm. Good job, Bobby. Okay. So, Bobby's right. The X's go here. I'm always right, you know. It's nice. Alright, so then I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to do the other end too. Okay, and you can do that to both of your 3-inch long pieces. Awesome. If you guys don't have your names on your boards right now, make sure that you absolutely, positively, undeniably have your names on your boards somewhere, and put the period number, put like P1 on them. Then you guys can go ahead and put your boards away and come on back in and have a seat.